Hello, friends. My name is Sonia. This is Sonia with an I, and today I am bringing you my March reading wrap up. There was a lot going on in March, and I am pleased to say that I really loved it. I participated in both March Mystery Madness and Middle Grade March. I did a little mashup that was like March Middle Grade Mystery Madness or something like that. And I really had a great time with it. I actually made a really kooky video too, if you want to check that out, with my plans, my TBR plans. And I am pleased to say I read everything on my TBR again this month. So that is 2 months in a row. Happy dance, yay! Gold stars for everybody. I am so pleased with this. First of all, thank you to everyone who planned and did and promoted the March Mystery Madness and the Middle Grade March. It really was a fantastic time, and I am absolutely just chuffed that I read so many really good mystery books. And then on top of it, threw in some more. Like, I have a total of 13 reads this month. Another great month for me. And I actually, I had 1 week where it was really slow and I didn't read much, and I can't, I was really shooting for 15, but you know what? 13 is good. Let's go lucky 13. So let's talk about the books that I read. I am going to try to organize this a little bit just for my own kind of sanity and for it to not be such a hodgepodge of things, even though I will have to confess I am very much a hodgepodge reader. I have, of course, I love cozy mysteries or anything cozy. That is going to be my go-to and my love, where my heart goes every single time. But I do like other genres, and this month, even though I really stuck to my mystery TBR, I tiptoed in some other genres that might be a little bit interesting. So stay tuned, grab a drink, grab a snack, come right back, and let's talk about books. So I started with, I did through the ages, through, the time periods. I started with the 1980s. And with the 1980s, I read The Babysitter's Club, Stacy and the Missing Ring. This was actually written in 1990, but the series is from the 1980s, so I decided to count it. I mean, it's my channel. I can do what I want, I guess. But this was a darling little book. This is by Anna Martin. It is part of the Babysitter's Club, and this is part of the mystery line or subsection, and this was mystery number 1. Now, in this book, Stacy, every book focuses on usually one of the babysitters, and Stacy is the one that this book focuses on. And Stacy is babysitting for this man and woman. They go out, they come back, and then the woman is missing jewelry or missing a ring, and she blames Stacy. And the woman says that she's going to, badmouth the Babysitter's Club and they do an little investigation and figure out what happened to the ring. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. The nostalgia in this, they made reference to like Shark Attack and Pee Wee Herman and all the things that I love the 80s. I really think that's why I love the Babysitter's Club, because every time I read these, I am a 13-year-old girl living in the 80s again. And I will also say, if I was Stacy's mother and some woman called me and accused my child of stealing something, and then saying she was going to go and badmouth my child and the other children who are in this Babysitter's Club, that lady and I would have some words. But I am not. Even if I was her auntie, we still have some words. But anyway, I really enjoyed this book. This was my first of the March Mystery Madness and the Middle Grade March, and I absolutely adored this book. 4 stars, so cute. I really need to get back to reading the actual Babysitter Club book. I think I'm on book number 4, Stacy's Secret. I think Stacy's Secret. I'm looking at it up here, but I can't see what it is. So yes, this is great. 4 stars, highly recommend. I loved it. And then I went back to the 1970s, and I read Encyclopedia Brown and the Case of the Dead Eagles. This is by Donald Sobol. And this is there are multiple stories in this. It's not just one story. So it's hard to really tack down, but it's your typical Encyclopedia Brown. There is a problem in the community. He investigates, and then the mystery is in the end. Like, you can go back and look and see how he solved the mystery. I kind of chuckled a bit because this was written in 1975. And one of the topics, the story of the Dead Eagles, is about a teenage boy who is basically has a gun, doesn't know how to use it, isn't using it properly, and then Encyclopedia talks about basically gun control. I'm like, we're still talking about these things in 1975. Okay. Anyway, I found this is really enjoyable. It was very nostalgic. I read a lot of Encyclopedia Brown when I was a child, and this is a great little short stories. I would say this would be great for second and third grade, especially if they're like emergent chapter readers. Really enjoyed it. I gave it 3.5 stars. Very good. I loved how like the solving the answers to the mystery was in the back of the book. Like, you could read it and then go back. Very cool. The next one that I read was from the 1960s, and this was The Secret of Hidden Creek by Wiley Folk St. John. First of all, check out this cover. Now, is this not just the cutest thing? So this is about a set of kids who go to stay with their grandparents at this lake house, and the grandpa makes them call him Sarge. And the grandmother makes me laugh because she's like, I'm going to bed early. Y'all are getting on my nerves. I mean, keeping it real 1960s. I thought this was so fun and so cute. The grandparents tell a story about some missing treasure or Confederate gold kind of treasure, and the kids decide that they're going to find this. They also make a friend with a child who is, doesn't have as much, like the poor kids in town. Basically, his mom is a widow, and she is doing the best she can, but the grandma is complaining because she can't keep the ruts out of her road. Anyway, this was really, really cute. I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. I really loved the history part of it because there is a lot of history about like Civil War history and how the Confederate soldiers like hid money as they were going home, and the coins and treasures. And then there's also I love when there's like a little misunderstood old lady and they befriend her, and there was another mystery plus the gold solved in this book. So very, very cute, very well written. I actually, after I read this, even looked up some other books by Wiley Folk St. John because I definitely want to read more from this author. It was really well written. I really enjoyed it. I will say the older these books get, the more dated they get. Some of the things are not so appropriate. Like there was some inappropriate Native American referencing in this that I didn't, of course we know better and we do better, but it was really an enjoyable story. The next book that I read was from the 1950s, and this was Jenny Gordon and the Mystery of the Old Barn. Now, this is an very old copy, but this is old Whitman. I love old Whitman books. I mean, look at these pages. And the person who had these before, because I have several of these old Whitman books, they rated them with these stars. So this was a silver star, and I found one with a gold star and a red star. I don't know. I'm guessing gold is first, silver is second, maybe red or another color is whatever. I don't know, but I enjoyed this story, I have to say. It is Jenny Gordon, and this is also the third in the series. I really want to read the first because they do reference it quite a bit. It's very cute. It is about Jenny and her friends John and Wiz and Lucy and Babs. And they decide, John's grandmother has this old barn, and they decide to take this old barn and they're going to turn it into like a snack shack for high school kids to hang out. And Jenny is 17. No, Jenny is 15. John is 16. The rest of them are, I think, 15 or 14. They decide they're going to make this snack shack and have this great place for teenagers to hang out. And as they're getting this ready and getting it together and they get it up and running, the local hotel, which has kind of like, it's more of a shushy or foofy, like posh place for the adults and stuff to go and hang out. Well, they get this hillbilly singer, and apparently hillbilly singers are a big thing, and he's really handsome and hunky. He looks like Superman. And so all of the teenagers are now going over to the hotel, and they're losing business. Well, as this is happening, there's a very weird, strange, odd occurrence. This gentleman comes in while Jenny is by herself, gives her a envelope, says that someone's going to give them, I think it was $5,000 in cash for that envelope, but not to give it unless they give them that cash. And I'm just like, okay, hello, drop. But, you know, this was the 1950s, and she's just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, girl, no. So, of course, there's all kinds of mayhem and foolishness with that. This, and they solve them, you know, they do what they do. Jenny reminds me of Nancy Drew, but she's not as, I won't want to say prissy, because I don't think Nancy Drew is prissy, but she's not like into as fashionable and, you know, as Nancy Drew. She's kind of like just a, you know, a small town girl who is very ambitious, and every single one of these, she's started some sort of business or done some sort of philanthropic type thing. Very interesting. I gave this 3.5 stars. I really did enjoy it. I thought the mystery was good, but as stated before, there's some time, you know. There was a quote in here that, let me see if I can find it. Any other girl in the world would have done that. If you had more sense and less courage, life would be a lot simpler. Basically encouraging her not to be brave. I'm just like, but it is a product of his time. It was a really good mystery. I enjoyed it. I'd like to read some more in this. Now, the Jenny Gordon series is written by Julie Campbell, and Julie Campbell is also the person who writes the Trixie Belden series. So I thought that was very interesting. Are the first few of the Trixie Belden series. I believe there was some change in that, but enjoyed the writing, enjoyed the story, thought it was cute, 3.5 stars. And I would read the rest of the series. I enjoyed it. Now, the next one, I think this might have been my favorite out of all of them. This was from the 1940s. It is a Connie Blair mystery, and it's called The Clue in Blue. This is a story of Connie. Connie has a twin sister, but they're very different. Her twin sister wants to work at her dad's hardware store and wants to stay home. And Connie just has dreams of going off into the big city and being like her Aunt Bet. Her Aunt Bet is a buyer for a department store, and she just wants to be like Aunt Bet. She wants to be a working girl in Metropolitan and all of this. So her Aunt Bet comes to town, and they do a little fashion show, and Aunt Bet asks if Connie can come back with her and do some modeling over the summer. Now, Connie's parents are wanting her to go to college, but Connie doesn't really want to go. She wants to take a gap year, and she wants to just kind of explore what she wants. And, gap year is a more modern term, but she just kind of wants to take a little break before going back to school. Even if she decides to go to school, she might just decide to be a working girl. So Aunt Bet has asked her to be a model at a department store. And I learned some things in this. I did not realize, it just didn't occur to me, but back in the day, in the 1940s, there used to be models that would wear the clothes that the store was selling and walk around so everybody could see the clothes kind of in action. I guess they had mannequins, but mannequins were expensive, so they would just have young girls go and model these outfits instead of having like printed posters and whatnot. I just thought that was interesting, and that's exactly what she did. She would go in, put the clothes on, walk around the store, whatever department it was. Like she had there's a college sport department, so she hung out in the college sport department one day, and then there was like it's like a classic workwear, so she would, and then she would wear the clothes from that. So she's getting to do all these things and seeing, these jewelry and hats, and she's just thinking this is what she wants to do with her life. And then something comes missing, and Aunt Bet is in trouble for that. So she's going to solve the mystery. I thought this was really good. There's even a description of a person who has a disability, and how she is empathetic and how she accommodates the disability, which I thought was very cool. I really enjoyed this. This was book 1 in the series. There are 9 in this series. I have never heard of it before I picked up this book, and I truly want to read the rest of it. If out of all of these, this would be the one that I would want to continue the most. I really enjoyed it. The next book I read was from the 1930s, and this is called Freddie the Detective. This is by Walter R. Brooks, and this is part of a series. This is number 4, I believe, in the series. And this is not a detective series. This is just about Freddie the Pig. But in this book, Freddie reads Sherlock Holmes, and he decides he wants to be a detective. So he goes and kind of creates some cases so he can play the detective, but ends up kind of stumbling into a real case where there is a courtyard trial, like a barnyard trial, and it's very interesting. This is it's very young written, and I enjoyed it. The animals were fun. There's a lot. I giggled and chuckled a few times out loud. This is on audio, even though this is 1930s. I thought the audio reader did a really great job. It was very cute. I gave it 3 stars. If you know, I love animals and I love talking animals, and this kind of hit that sweet spot. And the last of my TBR for March Mystery Middle Grade Madness was, of course, The Hardy Boys, The Tower Treasure. This is by Franklin Dixon. Franklin Dixon, yes, Franklin W. Dixon. And it's the story of these 2 boys. They are going down the road. They see a friend's car driving down the road and realize that it's not their friend's car, and that their friend's car gets stolen. And then they realize that there's a lot of things being stolen, and they investigate. I enjoyed this a lot. This is the first Hardy Boy I ever read. There were some dry spots. There's also some, of its time sort of philosophy. But it was a good mystery. It kept me engaged. The boys solved it. It was just a good time. So this classic, I read it and I did enjoy it. Now that was the completion of my March Mystery Middle Grade Madness TBR, but I also had a few mysteries that I wanted to read to support some of my friends here on YouTube. The first was my bestie Tiffany at Beach Bum Bookworm. They did a read aloud of A Cheddar Off Dead, The Cheese Shop Mystery by Karina Moss. If you know me at all, or if you've been around me at all, you know I am in love with this series. This is top 5 favorite cozy mystery series, if not number 1 for me. The story is about Willa. Willa is a cheesemonger, and she opens a little cheese shop in Sonoma Valley, California, moving away from her family. And she has studied cheese. She is obsessed with cheese. And in this cheese shop, she hires some wonderful people. There's Mrs. Schultz, who is an older lady who used to be a drama teacher, who I can kind of see myself falling into her shoes someday. So there's a young man, Archie, and I think he's like late teens, early 20s. And the 3 of them work together in the cheese shop, and they have such a fabulous dynamic. She also has a pet fish named Loretta, who is obsessed with Ted from Chopped, who isn't. And she also has a good friend that she begins her relationship with, whose name is Baz, and also just a wee bit of a start, maybe of a romance. And it's just a phenomenal story. In this book, Willa is just opening her cheese shop, and there's a critic coming to check it out. He comes, he is not a very good steak, and of course, because he is the not so nice food writer, you know what happens. This is my most highly recommended book. Is probably the most enjoyable. I love it. I love Karina. Great read. Can you tell I like it? Read this book. Fantastic. The next book that I read was also to support a friend of mine, and that is Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Loves Books. And her group did The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peter. I had a copy of that and I ended up giving it away. I loved it so much. This was my only 5-star book of the month. And that doesn't mean I had a bad month. I had a great month. 4 stars is great too, but this was a 5-star read for me. This is about an indigenous family who lives in Nova Scotia but travels to Maine to pick berries during the summer. And in this family, they have a tragedy because the younger sister suddenly disappears. The book is told from the younger sister and the brother who was with her when he disappeared, or when she disappears, point of view. It is a tale of just weaved of heartbreak and family struggle and indigenous life, and the journey of these two individuals, and how self-blame and self-doubt is so damaging in her life. And it is very, very touching. Like I teared up a few times. It makes you think. It was really well told. I believe that this is a debut book for the author, and they, for a date, I mean, knocked it out of the park. I gave it 5 stars. I immediately took this book and gave it to my friend Carmen and said, you have to read this. You will love it. I did love it. I'm so glad that I read it. It is on audio as well. I had both. I did a little bit of both reading it, but it really is poignant and a beautiful story. The next one that I read was The Restaurant of Lost Recipes, part of the Food Detective series. This is book number 2, and it's by Hisashi Kashiwai. I gave this 4 stars. It is the story of a daughter and a father who have this little restaurant that no one really knows about, but people turn up to, and people go there with memories of food that they loved when they were young, and this little team investigates and recreates the dish. Now, I know for a lot of people that sounds pretty boring, but the stories that come along with the dishes are just heartwarming and touching. It is the coziest little book. I really enjoy it. My only thing that keeps it from being a 5 stars, and I know that this is more of a Japanese culture thing than anything else, because I read a lot of Japanese translation, and I see this in a lot of them, is that the father kind of downgrades the daughter a lot, like about her size, about that she's single, about that, and I just don't like that. I think parents should be supportive and love their children, and not bring them down. The world brings us down enough. But the rest of it is completely cozy. It's just little bitty bits of it. It doesn't get interfere with the story. It just keeps me from making it a 5 star. The next book that I read was Murder at the Yellow Brick Road. This is by Stuart Kaminsky. This is a story of a detective. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And he is called by Judy Garland. It takes place in old Hollywood. That was the whole reason I picked it up, because it said Yellow Brick Road and it had Judy Garland in it. Now, I will also say that Judy Garland is in about that much, but basically, there is a murder on the MGM set. It is one of the Munchkins from The Wizard of Oz, and he is asked to investigate this. And his brother is on the police force, but they have a really tumultuous, they have a really tumultuous relationship. They even fist fight. It gives me the Stanley Gardner kind of noir detective sort of thing, all the women are dames and they just fall on him, and it was all right. I gave it 2 stars. I didn't hate it. I finished it and I read it and thought, well, maybe, because I hear there's another one that has Bela Lugosi, and I kind of want to read that one. I love the whole premise of the old Hollywood actors, though. I love that, but the story was just kind of I don't know, it wasn't what I was looking for at the time. It would be wonderful for Garb August. It really would. The next book that I read is going to be the one that's going to put a lot of people maybe, grasping their pearls or falling over in a chair, because it is not usually my type of read. But I Blame Emily from Emily Reads. I think she's Emily Reads Epic Books. I don't know. I will tag Emily in this. She's just recently changed her name and I'm blanking out on it. But Emily talked about it at a live, and I'd heard a few other people talk about it too. And I was like, okay, I have got to read this. And that is Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Yes, you heard me. I said Ice Planet Barbarians, and I want to tell you, I really, really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. It is the story of Georgie, and Georgie is kidnapped or abducted by aliens, brought into this ship, and she is realizes, you know, she starts to see, first of all, she wakes up and she has these little green people around her. She wigs out, they knock her out, throw her in this containment unit basically with all of these other women, and she realizes that they're being shipped to other people or other planets to be sold. And she is not happy about this, as you would not be. And then she starts, you know, talking to the others and she starts realizing that they are basically the extras, that they have the ones that they truly want to sail, like the prizes in stasis. And so as the ship is starting to have problems, and they she one of the girls there had been implanted with a like a listening device, so she can understand, a translating device. So she realizes, she's like, oh my goodness, they're going to, you know, they're dropping the cargo. They're dropping the cargo. The cargo that they are contained in, it drops, it lands on this ice planet. Well, because Georgie was really kind of trying to get a revolution going, trying to get them to, you know, fight against the aliens and stuff. They decided that she was the leader and that she was going to go and explore and find food and water and help. And she does, and she runs into one of the natives there, and he is very interesting, and that whole species is very interesting, and they hit it off. This is incredibly spicy. If you do not like spice, and if you do not like sci-fi, this is not for you. I loved the main character. I loved learning about the alien and the planet and all of the things that made them tick as far as like their physiology. I loved the main character so much because she wasn't like oh, who's going to rescue me? Like, she's trying to rescue herself. She's very likable. She's very flawed. I really, really enjoyed it. Actually, I found it somewhat cozy. So here today, I'm just going to make the term cozy smut, because it is very, very spicy. But to me, it is very, very cozy because you have these 2 characters who do not speak the same language, who are learning about each other through communication and realizing their connectivity through that. You have a very, very strong female who's trying to rescue all the other females that are in the containment unit waiting for her. And then you have this male character who is trying to save his race, or his species, and it's so interesting. I loved it. I'm reading part 2 right now. So I will continue reading the series. I think there's like 20. I don't know if I'll read 20, but I really, really enjoyed it. And because I enjoyed Ice Planet Barbarians so much, I then moved on to reading by Ruby Dixon, Bull Moon Rising. I also gave this 4 stars. Now, I will say that I did read this book. I was out of town in my hometown, and I saw this available at their library, and I thought, I need something to read, and I picked it up. I really enjoyed it. The story is about Espeth, and Espeth is I think it was a founder's daughter, Holder's daughter, sorry. She's a Holder's daughter, so she's been raised with money in this like really beautiful home or whatever, but her father is really disconnected. He has sold off all of their artifacts because that's how they keep people from attacking their homes or taking their homes away from them. People think they're very, very rich, but because he has a gambling issue, all their artifacts are gone. She's extremely frustrated with them, and she decides that she's going to run away and join this artifact guild so she can find some more artifacts to keep people from attacking or going to war on her hold, and her family's hold. And it's just her and her father is just kind of like lives in La La Land and just doesn't really care. But she has taken control, her and her best friend. Her best friend was her maid, but is the only other person in her world that she's ever had that's like hugged her or loved her. She also has a cat. And as a main character, I absolutely love Espeth. She is neither one of the characters in these stories are Disney-fied at all. They are flawed. Like, you know, Aspeth talks about her frustration because she has to do all these physical tests and she's out of breath and her belly jiggles, and it's just like relatable, but also like the biggest heart, like I want to save my family. This girl is just doing everything to save her family. Well, as she's trying to get in this guild does not allow women, but these women are wanting to join, and it gets to a point to where she has to choose either not to join a guild or marry one of the teachers who happens to be a centaur. And it goes from there. Yes, this is very spicy as well. Ruby Dixon writes very, very spicy books, but the magic systems, the artifacts, the stories were all very, very interesting. I gave this one 4 stars and I really enjoyed it too. So that very long explanation of all the books that I have read. Did you read anything fun or that you really loved this month? How many, how many books did you read? Did you participate in March Mystery Madness or Middle Grade March? Let me know about it. Let's talk about it in the comments. If you don't have anything to say, but you'd like to, support the comments anyway, why don't you leave a magnifying glass emoji in the comments? I had so much fun this month, and I really hope that this 10 plus books, and just finding these new books that I enjoy, I just hope that continues. So thank you once again for being here. You make the world a better place just by being a part of it. I hope your days are cozy, hope your nights are comfy, and I hope your heart is full of joy. And until next time, happy reading. Goodbye now.